Mexico's position on international terrorism is that Mexico is committed to counterterrorism efforts. Mexico is supported by the UN Global Counterterrorism. The UN counterterrorism strategy is to combat arms to take away weapons from terrorists. Mexico is committed to better protect the health and safety of their citizens by preventing criminal organizations that harm Mexico. Based on Mexico's position, they have implemented many strategies by being actively involved in many international forums to prevent the threat of international terrorism. Mexico's General Assembly Committee adopted the following to strengthen national efforts to stop terrorism. First, they created a national strategy against high-impact incidents, national position to address events that involve chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive material. Adding to this, the government of Mexico has made security protocols on the transfer of these materials. Mexico's government has increased the participation of public officials at all levels in courses, programs, workshops, and other national, regional, and international events. Border security is applying measures at airports by holding illegal activities that include acts of terrorism. These measures involve laws that do not allow takeoff, landing, or overflight if suspected weapons or terrorists are being transported. Lastly, the National Civil Aviation Security Program makes it where airports and organizations that transport persons and goods by air must have their own security to prevent illegal actions.
Hi, my name is Shakayla Mitchell, and I'll be sharing Nigeria's country position on international terrorism. International terrorism is strongly condemned in every way in Nigeria. It continues to pose a serious threat to international security and peace. On the national level, the Nigerian government has curtailed the horrible acts of the Boko Haram insurgency and their activities. The government has indeed strengthened the legal framework for fighting against terrorism through the adoption of an amendment to its Terrorism Prevention Act, ensuring the implementation of the stronger counterterrorism measures. The government recently passed the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act in 2022, which provides a comprehensive legal framework that prohibits and criminalizes the act of terrorism. The Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act formally established the National Counterterrorism Center to better coordinate the establishment and implementation of the counterterrorism policies and strategies. Nigeria also has a naval unit of the Nigerian Armed Forces securing Nigerian waters in the face of multidimensional maritime threats. Nigeria continues to implement a coherent strategy to curb terrorism and comprehensively address the conditions conducive to terrorism. Having prevention as the heart of this strategy, we continually enhance efforts, strengthen legislative and institutional frameworks. And we also want to make improvements in the area of the screening, rehabilitation, prosecution, and reintegration. Nigeria remains fully committed to ensuring that all perpetrators of terrorism are fully prosecuted. With that being said, Nigeria is fully committed to the pursuit of global peace and will continue to support regional security mechanisms. As part of the commitment to fight terrorism in the region, Nigeria will host the UN High-Level International Summit on Counterterrorism and the Prevention of Violent Extremism in African in Abuja, Nigeria in 2024. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'll be representing Egypt on international terrorism. Egypt is at risk for terrorism, especially in North Sinai. In 2022, there were at least 96 terrorist incidents in Sinai, with about 260 casualties. Some ways that Egypt is preventing international terrorism is by maintaining a terrorist watch list for Egyptian immigration officials at the ports of entry with detailed information maintained by the security services. The Egyptian government also tightened financing laws, which they described as part of the effort to combat terrorism. It prohibited nonprofit organizations from conducting any activities related to terrorism or money laundering. Egypt is a member of the Middle East and North Africa Financial Action Task Force. which is an anti-money laundering body for the Middle East and North Africa region. Egypt is also a member and co-chairs of the Global Counterterrorism Forum, which is a body that seeks to promote civilian cooperation and good practices to counterterrorism. The United States assisted Egypt's counterterrorism efforts by providing training, equipment, and other assistance to its law enforcement and armed forces. Egypt has also increased the penalty for filming, recording, broadcasting, or displaying any facts from court sessions in terrorist crimes without the permission of the head of the court. Egypt has authorized the Egyptian president to delegate presidential authority to issue orders imposing evacuations, curfews, or isolation in an identified region for 6 months in case of terrorism or environmental disasters. In 2022, Egypt saw a decrease in terrorist activity compared to previous years.
Hi, I'm Ellie, and I'll be representing India and their position on international terrorism. Terrorism is defined as a strategy by which subnational groups, not recognized as legitimate by the states they oppose, seek to resist those states by targeting non-state actors, disrupting the flow of everyday life, and spreading generalized fear among the population of those states. Some things that India have been doing to prevent and act upon international terrorism include India created more state-level multi-agency centers aiming to strengthen intelligence sharing among state and federal agencies. The United States and Indian governments are working together to improve border security. The Indian Army is currently running programs to target demographics at the highest risk for terrorism recruitment. The Ministry of Home Affairs is in the process of developing an action plan on strategic messaging to counter radicalization. India became a member of the United Nations Security Council, and they have a defense relationship with Canada, Russia, France, and the United Kingdom to extend counterterrorism issues. India's military exercises with most countries, especially neighboring, to address international counterterrorism responses. United Nations Permanent Representative Ruchira Kamboj said that counterterrorism was of India's top priorities in 2021, and terrorism acts are common, but they have been declining recently.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sam, and I'll be representing Russia and their position on international terrorism. International terrorism is defined as a strategy by which subnational groups, not recognized as legitimate by the states they oppose, seek to resist those states by targeting non-state actors, disrupting the flow of everyday life, and spreading generalized fear among the populations of those states. Russia has almost consistently had the highest number of terrorist attacks and deaths in the region, with 1,312 attacks and 1,179 deaths recorded since 2007. Russia is a member of the Global Counterterrorism Forum, which is an organization whose overarching and long-term goal is to reduce the vulnerability of people everywhere in the world. Russia used terrorism to stifle internal dissent. They have adopted multiple bills meant to silence individuals who provide any dissent toward the government and prevent them from participating in public life. These bills have done things such as banning leaders, staff, and supporters of organizations labeled as extremist from running for parliamentary elections, prohibit Russian citizens from participating in activities of undesirable organizations, and simplified the process for charging and convicting those who have been designated as affiliates of undesirable organizations. After implementing these bills, Russia's security agencies saw a decline in terrorist threats and claimed that Russia had prevented 32 terrorist attacks over an 11-month span in 2021.